At 17, when I had to decide what to study in university, I had no idea. I liked math in school, but I didn't know what being a mathematician is like, really. So you don't really know until you really get into it. And then you can say, okay, I like this part, I don't like this part. Okay, what's my next step going to be? And how can I increase the amount of time that I spend doing the things that I do like? I was born in Cordoba, Argentina. So it's the second biggest city, Cordoba in Strayan. And as a kid, I lived for 4 years in the US while my dad was doing a PhD in Denver, Colorado. So that's why I always say that I cheat with my English. People say, oh, your English is so good. And I said, yeah, I cheated because I learned as a kid, which makes a huge difference if you learn before the critical period. But then we went back to Argentina after that. And yeah, I lived in Cordoba my whole life. I always loved mathematics. I studied pure mathematics in university. But then it seemed a little bit too abstract and removed from the world. So I did a PhD in neuroscience, thinking of getting more to the biology and to the real world applications. And from there, it's been a very windy journey to find what I really am passionate about, which is this collaborating with people to use mathematical and computational tools to answer their questions. And my current field of work is probably, I would call it data science. It's a very new type of position in the university. We basically collaborate with researchers of any domain to implement data science techniques into their research. So they kind of bring the domain expertise and the research question, and then we help them use high performance computing or cloud computing or implement machine learning algorithms or program their algorithm in Python or in R or optimize their code, parallelize, data management things, all sorts of things like that. So it's extremely broad. I guess I never knew it existed as a field, and it actually didn't until very recently. I'm learning things every single day. So I hadn't actually ever used a high performance computing until the last 6 months, in which I used it for collaboration. Yes, I'm constantly learning new programming languages, because we're trying to meet researchers where they are and try to help them create something that they'll be able to maintain and kind of keep adding to moving forward. We do short-term collaborations between 3 and 6 months. So it's really important that they can take ownership of whatever we create and take it forward as well. So we're constantly learning things and doing things that we know nothing about, but we kind of learn as we go and work together to turn it into something. I've been for a year almost already. Initially, I thought it was going to be harder than it was because, well, I guess prior to COVID-19, whenever I worked from home, I would get distracted by cooking things or cleaning or doing things around the house that you never get the opportunity to do. But I think, I don't know, I set up an office and I have my routine and my desk and everything, and it's actually been great. I do have a cat that we adopted actually in August 2019, so it was perfect timing, and she absolutely saved us during the pandemic. Like having her to keep us distracted and interested and checking on her and all the new tricks that she learns, it's just been delightful. The main project that we're kind of trying to round off at the moment is a bioinformatics project, and it's the project with which I learned how to use high performance computers. So it's Haroon Verbruggen is a researcher in the Faculty of Science at the University of Melbourne, and he's really interested in eukaryotic mitochondria and chloroplasts that are undiscovered, that haven't really been studied all that much. So we downloaded about 50 terabytes of publicly available metagenomic data. So metagenomic data is when you take a sample of soil or water or whatever, and you have no idea a priori which organisms are present there. So then you have to implement all these quite sophisticated mathematical algorithms to reassemble the genomes and work out which species were actually present there. So we built a whole pipeline, a workflow using something called workflow description language. or a WDL, to download the 50 terabytes, clean the data, trim it, pass it through, assemble it, work out the taxonomic classification of the species that are present, and now all the process that is there available for this group in the Faculty of Science to do all these downstream analyses and try to find these chloroplasts and mitochondria, little snippets of genome that they're interested in. I love working collaboratively, and this is the reason why initially I thought I didn't want to be an academic or a researcher, because it's so rare that you actually get to work in this way. Normally you have your own research question and you have to fight others for funding to work on your project rather than other projects. And the other thing I really love about it is how I get to learn new things every day. I knew nothing about genomics before this project. And now, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I do know a little bit about it and I understand things so much better. And yeah, it's amazing how much you can learn from these absolute experts in their field. And by working across different projects every 6 months, it's just constant learning new and interesting things. I think I'm really proud of navigating this very windy professional path and not giving up until I got to where I wanted to be. So I'm in my mid-30s, and only now I feel like I've found my place in the world professionally. So I've moved across multiple countries. I've always been searching, whatever I do, being able to recognize which aspects of it do I like, which aspects do I not like that much, and then finding a next step that takes more of the things that I like and less of the things that I don't like. But it's been a really hard path to navigate, from mathematics to neuroscience. Then I worked in education and outreach. Then I worked in public health, and now I'm here in this role that kind of brings together everything I always liked, but I never knew existed. So it was hard to get here, and I'm kind of proud of myself for sticking at it and not giving up, and not just staying in one place because it's comfortable, but to keep searching. Yeah, and my professional career has involved. I studied my undergraduate in Argentina, but then I did my PhD in the US, and that's where I met my Australian partner. So then I moved to Australia, and every time you move to a new country, especially as an adult, it's so hard because you have no network whatsoever, and you need to find, well, especially for me, every time I'm trying to change kind of areas and change my career a little bit, and having a solid network is so important for succeeding in that. So many jobs never get published in any platforms, but rather are managed through kind of connections and networks. So yeah, I'm kind of really proud of having finally found my dream job.